Good evening. I'll call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, July 27th, 2026. Kristen, could we have a roll call, please?
Tisha?
Here.
Bridget?
Here.
Tracy?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Ann?
Here.
And Aaron.
I'm here. I'll verify that we have a quorum present. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, would you please read the school board mission statement?
Yes, working together to ensure high levels of learning for all.
Thank you. Kristen, was public notice given?
Public notice was given to the requesting news media. The agenda was posted at the district office and on the district website.
Thank you. Are there any requests to amend the agenda for this evening?
No changes.
Go ahead. Seeing none, I would move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Tracy to approve the agenda as published. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tonight's agenda is approved. We do not have any requests for public input on the published agenda, and we'll move into recognition item, and I'll hand it over to.
All right, board, it is with great hilltopper pride and appreciation that we accept these following donations. $900 from Beer by Bike Brigade for student lunch accounts, and $500 from the NEA Foundation for the Irving Perch LMC.
With very much appreciation from the team and the students. Let's move into our informational discussion items, and we'll start with a board report from the policy committee. I'll hand it over to Bridget.
Thank you. Tonight, the policy committee met to discuss Wisconsin Act 89, which requires all public and private schools to adopt policies and provide annual trainings on appropriate communication between school employees and pupils. There's a deadline to have the policy in place by September 1st, and so we are meeting actively to come up with some resolution. We have about 9 policies that will be affected. So we met this afternoon, had some good discussion, and we'll have more to come at the next meeting.
Great update. Any questions for Bridget? Thank you. Now we'll turn again to information items for the 2026-27 handbooks. There are a number of them here. We'll start off with the 4K student handbook, and Lish.
Thank you. You might recall that a few years ago we did a pretty major overhaul of all of our handbooks, and since then Neola has provided us a list of updates of things that either are suggested or required to be in handbooks. So a few of these things you'll see across all of our handbooks as you listen this evening. The first one on our pre-K handbook is the updated language on the equal education opportunity anti-harassment. That one you'll see across all of our handbooks. That's what we get from Neola. And then an update for attendance that you will see consistent in the elementary one as well, where we used to have the appointment code under the medically excused absences, but we typically use that as a parent or guardian excused code until they bring us a medical note, and then we move it to excused. So we just clarified that in the handbook to make sure that parents aren't confused on that. And then the rest of the changes in the 4K preschool handbook are pretty specific to just reflect that full day schedule. So change to the busing to remove the half-day busing portion, the change to the daily schedule to reflect the full day schedule in all the buildings. The electronic devices, that's one that is one of the policy updates based on the new statute about not having any cell phones during instructional time. Certainly do not expect any 4Kers to, but it does happen from time to time that maybe they might bring a device from home. And then we updated the meals and snacks portion to reflect the meal schedule for full day preschool. And just for board awareness, we have had discussions on whether or not to keep the 4K preschool separate from the elementary handbook, especially with going to full day. But we decided to keep the 4K preschool separate this year, and we'll take into consideration next year if we want to add that to the K-5 handbook or keep it separate if there's enough things that are different. So that's what we have for the changes for 4K preschool.
Okay. Thank you. Let's take a look at the elementary student handbook, and Abby.
Yep, so for elementary, you'll see that throughout, we updated web links, websites, contact information and titles. Like Liz shared, we did update our required notification around equal education opportunity and anti-harassment. We also added 2 sections around academic honesty and artificial intelligence. The first, academic honesty, just prohibiting the use of AI to generate or complete academic work. And then with artificial intelligence, really want to outline AI for use of academic purposes, and then have our staff provide instruction and then permission and guidance if we are using AI at the elementary level. We also outlined prohibited use of AI and also the connection to student code of conduct and disciplinary response to misuse of AI. Similar to the 4K handbook, we clarified the language around appointment code and then parent and guardian excuse for that appointment code. We also added the language similar to the 4K handbook with electronic devices that they need to be powered off. And then in accordance with Act 89, we did add language around student and staff boundary information and violations, just to outline that appropriate boundaries and then also communication between students and staff, as Bridget shared in the updates earlier.
Thank you, Abby. Ben, you want to present the middle school, please?
Yes, Mr. Eric, he was not feeling well and couldn't be here tonight, so I will present both of ours. So first up is the activities handbook. There's a number of changes here. A lot of them, well, first of all, obviously, updating the links and titles and dates and everything like that. Updated some language to the district approved, kind of the standard one that we went to as a district in the introduction there, as well as in the responsibilities of staff section, as well as with the personal communication devices, updates in accordance with Act 89, and so bringing that up to speed there. A little bit of clarification on our philosophy and the role that co-curricular activities and sports play in the overall education for students. And then our biggest change was we had made, this summer after the school year, we made some changes. We kind of had a committee going through some changes for eligibility, and so the changes in the handbook here reflect that. Just as a couple of brief examples, in the past, if a student had an F, they had 1 week to bring that grade up in order to stay eligible. And one of the unfortunate things that was happening was, so a student would have an F in math, they'd work really hard to bring that F up, but then the next week they'd have an F in science, and they were just kind of trading Fs. And so we've kind of revamped that policy a little bit, that any F you're ineligible for that week right then and there. And so really in alignment with the changes made to the philosophy, just student athletes are students first. And so kind of upping the ante with that policy and some other pieces with behavior and attendance too. And so these are things that are going to be new. We're going to roll out to students and families when we get to back to school, and they really should help keep things in perspective, as well as we change some things on the procedural end to make it a lot easier to monitor eligibility. And we are going to be monitoring eligibility from the first day of the season, and then it's more of like an FYI for students, because the games won't start usually for about 3 weeks. And so we want to get them in the habit, though, of checking their grades, checking their attendance, and knowing that the requirements for eligibility have been upped a little bit. So that's the biggest change for us with our activities handbook. Any questions there, or I'll move on to the family?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. A lot of changes here, but all just kind of minor ones, mostly updating links, names, dates, updating language to be in alignment with either language that we have agreed upon as an admin team and be consistent, or it's updating to reference certain board policies, or there's the Act 89 pieces with like the personal communication devices and things of that nature. So really not a ton of big updates on the family handbook here. Family student handbook, I should say. So.
Questions or comments? Okay, we'll turn to Jason for a review of the co-curricular staff handbook.
A couple of minor add-ons. Again, we added on our Act 89 information that the other Handbooks have also added in. Then we also talked about communication times that should be taking place between a coach with an individual athlete should not take place after 9 p.m. There could be times when a team is coming back from an away game and it's late and parents want to know what time. That is deemed to be okay, but like one-to-one conversation on Parent Square should be completed by then unless if they would get administrative approval. Other than that, Ben's updated middle school philosophy language was also added into that handbook. Moving to the activities handbook, a couple changes there. We added some additional club offerings, which is always good to see. Wording on when the code of conduct begins. The co-curricular committee, we spent most of this year actually in our meetings really going through some of these areas. And one area is when an 8th grader is done with 8th grade, whatever that date is, May 31st. June 1st is when the high school handbook goes into effect. Before that, they would almost get a couple free months. Not to say anybody did anything wrong, but it's just if they're going to come into high school and be in an activity, a lot of our activities do start in the summertime, right when they get out of 8th grade. So we did that, which I think is good. We added some school attendance and tardy additions that we're going to have to communicate out. If an athlete or a person in an activity gets 5 tardies, then they'll have to miss the next competition, whenever that would be. So that would be an add-on, and we'll make sure that we do our diligence to make sure families understand that add-on as well. We talked about changing the wording for participation just so they understand that you can only be in one sport per season. Again, we added Act 89 information, and then the last piece, we added some AI-generated photo sections. Basically, what that's saying is if an AI-generated photo is deemed to be AI, at that point in time, it'll be turned over to the administration through working through discussions, interviews, and whatnot to figure out, is this AI, is this not? And at the end of the day, the decision comes down to the school district and not anyone else than that.
Jason, just a comment related to the activities, like induction for an 8th grader. They would all go through a review of the policy as a part of that induction, right? So it wouldn't be a surprise to any of the students or families. Okay, finally, please go ahead.
And then my only other question is, I noticed that you have some additional new clubs, as you had mentioned. So for students who see this new list in the new book, how can they find out about when they take place?
When the clubs take place? So we have a club board at the school. We also send out information at the beginning of the year within the first couple weeks to let students know where clubs are happening, when they're taking place, who are the advisors, how to get a hold of them. Those are our 2 main areas at the beginning of the year.
Perfect, thank you, Jason.
Okay. Turn to Tyler for a review of the student technology handbook, please.
Yep, for the technology use and acceptance handbook, this outlines the student expectations and appropriate use, care, and security for any district-issued technology, particularly the Chromebooks. The major updates that we have here are around the pricing of repair and replacement costs for the Chromebooks themselves. And this is based on insurance rates going up for these devices and the sheer cost of a lot of the components part of these devices now. A lot of people think that Chromebooks go on sale at Black Friday for like $100 at Best Buy. That's not the devices that we buy. We buy very good devices with plenty of memory and RAM. So some of the prices may look a little high, but I promise you we do not make a dime on anybody for those repair costs. So those are the substantive changes that we have in our handbook for technology.
Thank you. So as a reminder to the board, these are on for first reading and consideration. They'll come back at a future meeting for approval.
Mr. President, just one comment. If any board member has any question or concern with any of these, please email me and I will make sure that they are addressed and get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Now we'll move into action items. We'll welcome Carrie. Carrie Johnson will give us an update on the school nutrition program and present the 2026-27 school nutrition meal and milk recommendations for approval. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Am I on? Thank you. Okay, so the state of the plate. I'd like to start with our year in review and just discuss maybe our continued efforts to introduce new menu items at all sites. We worked pretty hard to last year to increase our offerings to 2 hot items, and then that third cold item is a peanut butter meal with the yogurt and cheese, just to add some new items for our kids to select from. And then we introduced mailboxes in each of the elementary schools, so kids could add a note and offer their input on whether or not the item was well received by them or not. That's been extremely well received. We added new steamers at 2 elementary sites to accommodate more homemade menu choices. It was a little problematic at first getting some of these new recipes in and out of the small spaces that we have. We created a dedicated sub-sandwich station at the middle school, in addition to the 2 hotline daily choices and the pizza options. So the sub-sandwiches have been going over pretty well there also. Kids are learning to build their own. On the condiment side of things, they were a little unsure at first when we put the meat and cheese and said, there it is, build your own. But they have gained confidence in their own choices, and we have a lot of items for them to choose from. So that's been very successful. Last year when I was here, we talked about the scratch baking we're doing in our kitchen for our muffins for breakfast offerings district-wide, and we had received accommodation from DPI at that time where the chef came and did a day with us and helped our school nutrition staff. Well, this year we were awarded the Muffin of the Year award from DPI again, and that was showcased on our website, their website, and we received that certificate. And another success for us this year was offering a Google form for staff meals to order at each site that are then picked up in our kitchens, but trying to encourage our staff to maybe use us more for meals and not go out, or just as another option. That was a success as well. Points of Pride, continuing with the Tom's Grocery Bag program that is well received and very appreciated by the people who we offer it to. More personal items are being offered in addition to the food items, so deodorants, toothpaste, those kind of things that kind of go unnoticed for needs for families sometimes. We're continuing with the community support from various groups to assist with our meal account balances. Thank you to the Beer by Bike Brigade for that donation we received today. It's very, very much appreciated. As the person calling people on the phone to remind them that they have something owed, it's really nice for me to have an option to offer these families instead of feeling like a bill collector, because nobody wants to be that. Completing a successful summer school food service session on the 31st, this Friday. We coordinated with Wafer today to get our perishables and milk cartons to families they picked up, and we're very appreciative of our donation. And we always try and order closely, but cartons of milk on a daily basis are a little difficult to nail down. So we usually end up with some leftover at the end of the year, and it was fresh fruit as well that went to Wafer today. And actually DPI is coming here on Friday for our on-site review of that program, and I'm sure that will go very well. I'm not worried about it. Looking forward to 2026. We have a partnership in place with Hy-Vee Bakery that we started this summer. They're meet our formulation standards for whole grain, whole wheat requirements for our breads, buns, and we're going to begin offering those to students at high school and middle school, effective at the beginning of the school year, and move on to everybody else as we get the delivery process and the ordering process, those kinds of bugs worked out. We are contracted and added a Smart Mouth pizza line to the high school as a daily item. They're individual pan pizzas that use a impingement oven, a Turbo Chef pizza conveyor. Pretty slick operation, and this is a national franchise that is exclusive to schools. They don't offer to any other commercial businesses, but it is a honey whole grain, or honey whole wheat crust, and it is really, it's awesome. We had a food truck at the high school at the end of the school year and sampled it out to students, and they loved it. It was very well received. Another partnership we've created is with Pepsi to brand our water. I'm hoping that that goes over really well. I think it would be fun to see our water at our concession stands and things like that for
even show choir classic, whatever the event might be, presentations, school board meetings. Who knows? Pepsi is also providing us with 2 new reach-in coolers to create kind of a wall of cold units to showcase products at our high school and update the look of that a la carte area. I'm looking forward to getting those in place, and we're working on the electrical as we speak. And we are investing in success. We are making large and small improvements to move our participation and the perceptions of our programs forward. Looking at the budget piece of things, historical and proposed budget is the next slide going forward. Things are pretty close every year. I mean, we dipped in a little less, well, quite a lot less this year, actually, with only a 4,000 deficit into our fund balance. But going forward, we're looking at spending a little more next year and continuing that investment into new equipment that's aged, and just to try and change the perception of our program and add as much new items as we possibly can. The budget is listing here the revenues. It's pretty obvious. Our sources are the dark purple. Local sources are participation. Federal resource and state resources are our reimbursement from those 2 entities, USDA and the state of Wisconsin. Doesn't really change that much. The participation is really what drives us and what we need to push. Expenses, pretty much the same thing. Salary benefit is a big chunk, and food cost. There's not much wiggle room in our budget for anything other than those items. So the Cooley Nutrition Group that we are a part of, it's a co-op of 18 school districts. I think that the benefits of those collaborations is paying off. We agree on a prime vendor, our milk vendor, and also a bread contract. And we also do things like procurement reviews with DPI collectively, which saves us all a lot of time and money. So 18 schools get checked off at one time once they've completed a procurement review, which was last year. So I don't need to have that piece of my summer program analyzed when they're here on Friday, because I've already been approved that my procurement contract is up to snuff. So looking forward to next year, we did increase last year by 10 cents, but I still think we need to move that up. Our prices are consistent in the area with other school districts, and I don't think we're pricing ourselves out of the market at all. The 5 cents is what I'm proposing this year to all site categories, except for the single milk program. I would like to leave that at the 60 cents. We are eliminating the Wisconsin School Day Milk Program that we offered to 4K because they weren't available for meals before. Now they are. So I'm looking forward to getting that program out of our system and having those students join us for breakfast and lunch. So leaving the single milk at 60 cents, I think, is a perfectly fine place to leave that. Program statistics, nothing's really different, not too much to speak of. Our free and reduced percentages have stayed the same or pretty darn close. Little disparity there with different geographic areas in the district, which I think we're all aware of. The ADP, the average daily participation, is that small box on the bottom, and it stayed relatively the same. 24 less kids at breakfast in April and 10 kids less at lunch at April. So that is the number that we really need to push and move forward. So all of these efforts are trying to change that ADP as our goal. I would like to thank the board for your continued success, or your continued support of our success in our department and our initiatives. We appreciate your commitment to funding essential kitchen equipment, supporting healthy menu expansions, valuing our dedicated cafeteria staff, and boosting our wellness programs. We had a recruitment video done earlier this year by Sonia and Nick, I think, did the video, but I would just like to show you this. I'm really quite proud of Belen Vega and the job she and Nick did on creating this video. So if we could show this, I'd like to do that.
I actually was a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to be able to be home when she's home. So I went on the internet looking for a job like this. So I applied, I got the interview, and I got the job. I like that it's really like fast-paced, so I'm like always doing something, and time also goes by super quick. I didn't have any experience on the kitchen area, but it was really easy to learn. You get used to like the rhythm of the work. It's a really nice job, especially if you're a mom. It works with your schedule to be with your kids. It's a really nice job for me.
I just thought that was just so positive, and they did a really nice job, and I think that it's paying off. I have 14 applicants for the 2 open positions I have right now. That might be timing, you know, over the summer, and people are looking for work to start the school year, but, you know, positive reinforcement like that goes a long way. So, thank you to Sonia, Nick, whoever was involved in making those recruitment videos, because I appreciate it very much. The last thing I have is my recommended school nutrition pricing, seeking board approval for that 5-cent increase across the board and leaving the single price milk at 60 cents. Anybody have questions for me?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are the serving sizes different between elementary, middle, high school, and adults?
They're not.
Okay, thank you.
Well, technically. They're not. We have to offer more choices and more components at the high school, middle school level.
Okay.
But the amount that needs to be on the tray is still 3 of the 5 components.
Thank you.
Team, other questions?
I was just going to add, if I could, so looking back at that, the budget and seeing that $40,000 deficit, obviously we don't want that to be the case. That $40,000 is representing the investment that Carrie mentioned about the equipment that we want to put into our schools, and then to help promote our food program to be a little bit better. And Carrie's bought into that, and we're gonna do some really good things, I think, this year. But that $40,000 represents like grill tops and new stoves for at least the high school and the middle school to start. We would love to then retrofit some of the elementaries at some point. We need hood space for those big, large pieces of equipment, and a lot of our elementary schools don't have that type of space, but high school and middle school, they do. So we're going to start there, hopefully get that participation up, and then we'll see that investment, hopefully, or that deficit go away because our participation rose. So thanks to Carrie and having a really positive outlook on what we want to do going into this year. So I think that number will change by this time next year. So
Good insight, thank you.
I just have a follow-up question related to that. So are you planning to do any particular kind of outreach to families to talk about like the new things that you're offering to try to encourage more participation so they're more aware of that?
Absolutely. We're going to change the format of our menu so that looks a little different to people. It's kind of tired. It's been the same for a very long time. It's a Word document. So we're looking at different forms of offering our menu to families, and then, again, posting things on our website, and maybe offering things to building principals to add into the newsletters.
Great.
I was just going to add to, we're going to partner with Nick, our Director of Communications, to help us promote a little bit more on social media. I think a lot of parents see all the great things that our schools are doing, but they don't see a lot of our school nutrition program. So partnering with Nick and then with the schools to try and start to promote a little bit more of that, that parents can see that, yes, the meals are good, and they get the nutritional value. So hopefully we can build participation that way too.
Team, other questions?
I would move that we approve the 26-27 school nutrition meal and milk price following the recommendations given by Carrie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Ann, second by Bridget to approve the 2026-27 school nutrition meal and milk price recommendations. It's detailed in enclosure 12. Team, any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nice job, Carrie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Team will move next into a review and request for approval of the 2026-27 induction handbook. Hand it over to Lish.
I do not have any changes for second reading, so just asking for approval tonight.
Given no changes, if there's no further discussion, I would move to approve the induction handbook as outlined by Lish and included in enclosure 13.
Second.
Motion by Tisha, seconded by Brian to approve the 2026-27 induction handbook as detailed in enclosure 13. Team, any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Thank you, Lish. We'll stay with you for textbook adoption.
Thank you. Yes, a couple of textbooks for our high school that we're requesting adoption this evening. One of the things that Jared and his department chairs helped me out with last year is getting an accurate inventory of what textbooks we have in our classrooms so that we could start to look at what needs to be replaced, how to plan that out according to their curriculum cycles, and then budget for it. And one of the things that we found was that our chemistry books needed to be replaced. They were a little on the old side and a little bit not quite aligned with the level of rigor that our teachers wanted in the chemistry curriculum. So they took a look at 3 different textbooks, and as you can see from the enclosure, one was a little bit more aligned with like an AP or almost a college chemistry course, so that one was a little bit too rigorous. One was, it was like the Goldilocks, one was a little bit not rigorous enough, one was too rigorous, and then Dan Eng put his recommendation in for one that was kind of just the sweet spot of what they were looking at, but also a little more aligned to the units that we are teaching, aligned to those next generation standards, and had more practice problems associated with it that just refreshed and renewed and more what we would expect kids to be able to take with them into potentially post-secondary. So that is our first one. I don't know if you want to take them separately, or do you want me to explain both of them?
Team preference one way or the other? I'm open either way. Go
All
ahead.
right. Then you might recall that you gave us approval for replacing our AP World History course with AP Human Geography a couple of meetings ago. Our teacher that's going to be teaching that, Beth Nicolai, was able to attend the AP Institute, where she was able to talk with other teachers who teach that same course, take a look at a couple of different texts there, and all of the things that they have available. And she did a very thorough investigation into those and found the one that we are requesting is a lot more aligned to the AP course exam description. So I know she used a lot of acronyms. You might not know what they mean if you looked through there, but CED means the course exam description, so that's kind of like her backwards plan. This is what our kids are going to be assessed on, and then here's how we plan backwards for it. And then it also came with a lot of really nice features in their online text and their online platform that had practice question sets for the multiple choice questions that they can expect to see on the exam, and their free response or the free writing questions they can expect to see. We are looking at requesting your adoption of this one, but then purchasing the electronic version with the platform for 1 year to determine, is this really the one that is working the best for us since it's a new course, and then potentially buying the physical textbooks in the future if she feels like she needs the physical textbook, or potentially continuing with the online textbook with the online platform, or some combo of those, but it's all the same textbook, just kind of physical or electronic.
I just have a curious question.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Implementation. So like when we talked about our English is a big implementation. Would these be started to incorporate this coming school year?
Correct.
Okay.
So the chemistry book, our science department did a lot of work last year actually at realigning their standards with the courses that they have. And so that was a big piece of what Dan was using when he was looking at which book is the best one to choose here. And then with the AP Human Geography being a new course, Beth, like, both feet hit the ground running a couple of weeks ago with this one and is really dived in and taking a look at everything. But that's kind of why we wanted to be a little cautious of, let's try the online platform with the e-textbook this year and just make sure this really is fitting what we need for this new course. And if not, we may come back to you with something else we've looked at, or we may stick with this one if it's working.
Thank you.
I was just going to comment on the evaluation tool that you use to determine which textbook is the one we want. It's
Yeah.
impressive, it's thorough.
It's very thorough, and both Dan and Beth both did a really thorough job of just taking a look at every single thing in there. How does it meet our standards? Is it matching what we are expecting for rigor? And both of these are pretty rigorous courses, too, so it's got a pretty high bar.
I would second that. I really appreciate the criteria that you included and all of those numbers to help us see that. I'm curious, do we have online textbooks for other courses? And is that, I mean, the way you framed it, it seemed as we're really only doing the online version to see if it works and then we will get the physical, or we're not sure. I just,
Yeah.
as somebody in
Great
education,
question.
there are pros and cons to online textbooks. Like, it's nice that they can be updated more easily and they're really accessible and they usually come with lots of different tools. But then again, we're having students use screens even more during the day. And so I'm curious if you could just give more insight into how
Sure.
often we use online textbooks and what that's been like.
Yeah, I guess I can give you my perception in the past year, but if Jared wants to add something, I would invite him to. They're a little bit all over the place, so I would say like in our math department, they have a couple of courses that use primarily an online platform. In our science department, they've used a lot of the Open SciEd, so those are mostly online because they are updated more frequently. But then some of our social studies is a lot more of a like physical textbook that they're taking. And at the middle school level, it's a little bit of everywhere as well. So science and social studies are using a lot of the online, either Open SciEd or online platforms, where ELA, it's still very much a physical workbook that they're using. And then math is using a combo of some workbook and some online practice. So it's definitely one of the things that we're going to be looking at in our Pillar 2 work as well, but thinking about how we can give the kids that interactive practice that's adaptive too is one of the things we're looking at too. So definitely looking for a balance, and why we wanted to do a one-year purchase instead of purchasing a textbook that we're not sure of and then we have the physical copies forever and it's a lot more expensive at the outset before we make a decision like we're only going electronic or we're only going a physical copy. Yeah. I don't know, do you have anything to add, Jared?
I would just add, Tisha, the 1 year with a new course makes sense to start. Students have often preferred having a physical textbook when a textbook is needed, though, for all the distraction issues and everything else that we all know come with it, so.
Is there an opportunity for students who might do better with paper than using the computer to access the textbook, that they can be printed, or is printing not allowed when
Oh,
it's
yeah.
electronic?
Yep, no, it can be printed if needed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Team, other questions?
I have one. I presume this is budgeted for already? This isn't a new expense. We're just.
Correct.
This is the selection
Yep.
from these instructors,
Yep.
these teachers. Thank you.
Okay. This is on for board approval.
I would move that we approve the textbooks for chemistry and AP Human Geography as outlined in enclosure 14 and both under 14 as recommended by those teachers and Blish.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Tracy to approve textbook adoption for chemistry and AP Human Geography as detailed in enclosure 14. Are there any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for that work, to you as well as the instructors. Are there any requests to remove items from the consent agenda for separate consideration?
Seeing none, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Tisha to approve the consent agenda as presented. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. We have no further business.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Tracy to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for your work tonight.
All right, thanks, everyone.